guys, welcome to another episode of Tea from the Galaxy, a thirst-quenching podcast for the girls, gays, theys, and astrology baes, where we talk about anything and everything through an astrological lens. So today I'm in my comfies, and you know what that means? We get a little emotional, okay? I feel like every time I talk about like a harsher topic, I'm looking a little comfy. I'm a Cancer, so I like to feel comfy. Hopefully I'm not gonna cry, but you know, the lunar eclipse in Pisces is happening right now. And that is a full moon on steroids in a water sign like Pisces. Even more emotions are flowing. I'm on my period. Hopefully I don't cry. I have a Capricorn moon. I don't like crying. If you know me personally, if I'm crying, I'm going through shit, okay? I'm not an easy crier. Just press record. We're gonna do this off the dome because these are just emotions and feelings that have been weighing heavy on my mental and my body. But I know that a lot of people in the LGBTQ community can relate to what I'm feeling. So that's why I wanted to hop on a podcast and talk about this, because I think this is very relatable. And that is the grief that comes after coming out of the closet. Grief and loneliness, I should say. And this is something that I know a lot of queer people struggle with. Me, I identify as being queer. I love my women, okay? I think I'm going to end up marrying a woman. I just love being with women. Someone who is most likely going to satisfy me long term is going to be a woman. So I do lean towards women, but I don't like putting boundaries on who I love, so I just identify as queer. But being that I have been exclusively dating women for about 3.5 years, almost 4 years, and I feel like I'm going to marry a woman throughout the past 4 years of coming to terms with this, there has been a lot of grief with that. And that is me grieving a life that I thought I was going to live, me grieving an old self of mine, and watching those around me, my loved ones, grieve who they thought I was and the life that they thought I was going to have as well, which I think that is what makes it hard for me. If there was more acceptance surrounding that, maybe I wouldn't be feeling how I feel. I will say it has been a little bit of a struggle, a little bit of a journey, and I'm blessed in a way that it hasn't been the hardest journey. I still talk to my parents. My parents didn't shun me when I came out, although that was a fear of mine with my father. I was dating a woman for almost a year before I came out to my father because I was so scared. There's still a lot of family members that I just haven't even come out to. That's another thing we'll get into. There's not full acceptance, I feel like, of who I am with them. I think it's easier because I'm single and I don't have a girlfriend. So it's easier now, but it weighs heavy on my mind to think what's going to happen when I meet the love of my life, who happens to be a woman. What's that going to look like? And I feel like this has been a thought on my mind. Oh my God, why am I already tearing up? I'm on my period. I'm emotional, okay? This is like, usually I can have a conversation like this and be fine. These thoughts have been weighing heavy on my mind because 2 weeks ago, I went to Jersey. If you guys don't know, I live in Florida now, but I was born in New York, raised in Jersey. So all my family lives in New York and Jersey. I stayed for a week and I was there for my best friend's bachelorette. My best friend is getting married. So I saw all my friends there. I saw my grandparents. I saw my cousin and his wife who just had a baby. I saw a couple of my other cousins, my aunt, my other grandmother. With that, and the happy moments of like my best friend getting married, my cousin just had a baby, my other cousin just moved into a house right next door to my grandparents, about to have a baby, very old school Italian. With these big happy moments and milestones happening to my loved ones who I love very dearly, I feel a sense of sadness within myself, and I feel bad and selfish for feeling this way, so I never really express it to anyone. And this is like a form of like feeling loneliness too in the queer community, feeling like you don't really have a lot of people to talk about this with, especially if you don't have a lot of queer friends, which I don't, which is something that I want to create more of a community for within myself, so I have more people to talk about these things with. With these happy milestones that's happening with my loved ones, I feel bad that I feel sad for myself because I have a sense of thinking, okay, what is this going to look like when it's my time, when I want to marry a woman? Is it still going to be celebrated in the same ways? Is it going to look like this? It's not going to look like this. Is my family going to celebrate me in the same ways they're celebrating my cousins who got married and having babies? Or are people just gonna, start dropping like flies? So it's just been weighing heavy on my mind, thinking like, what is that going to look like when it's my time to come? I'm also 27 years old, so I'm getting to the age where friends are getting married, engaged, having babies. My cousins are, and it's just on my mind. A little stats for you guys, okay? In 2022, a CDC study found that rates of loneliness were highest among those identifying as bisexual at 56.7%. Transgender males and transgender females and transgender non-conforming between 56.4 and 63.9% feeling lonely. The loneliness among survey respondents who identify as gay was 41.2% and lesbian was 44.8%, versus people who identified as straight or cisgender were less likely to feel lonely, with percentages at surrounding 30.3%. This is an issue in our community of feeling very lonely and misunderstood. Feeling misunderstood is no new feeling to me. It's a feeling that I felt for a lot of my life. And it's being very prevalent right now. This eclipse is shining a light on these feelings. Grieving what I thought I wanted for a lot of my lifetime. Grieving what my family wanted for me. And now creating something new. But what I feel stuck in is I still value very traditional things. And I know there's a lot of lesbian and queer couples who do the thing. They get married, they have children, and they do the thing. Because I always wanted to be a mom. Like since I was young, I always wanted to be a mommy. I wanted to be a wife. I wanted to be almost like a Susie Homemaker type of woman. Okay, I'm a Cancer with a Capricorn moon. I have a Cancer Mars. Cancer Mars is the most Cancer of the Cancer placements. Having a Cancer Mars in your chart, I've always seen women be such domesticated people, value family over everything, wanting to have a family, wanting to build a family, just really being the matriarch or the patriarch of their family, just really valuing that and building a home. And that's something that I always dreamt of my whole life. I've always dreamt of my dream family. So once I came out in 2021, 2022, and I realized, oh shit, I actually want this with a woman, it crumbled everything of what I thought I knew and wanted my whole life, because it looks so different when you're building that with a woman. It's just so different. There's no gender norms. There's no relying on a man to do this and that for you. And I actually liked it. I liked the equality of building a life with another woman and being two moms. But how I was raised, and a woman that I looked up to a lot, was my grandmother, my nonna. Old school Italian woman, okay? She immigrated here in the late 60s, and she is just your typical Italian nonna. She watched me a lot when I was a baby and a little kid, and she was just your typical Susie Homemaker type of woman, okay? Had the garden, knew how to sew, cooked 3 meals a day for her loved ones every single day, cleaned every single day. She did the thing. Everything she did were for her children and her grandchildren. And you could tell that everything she did and every act of service, there was love in it. She's not the most expressive in words with how she loves, but she didn't even have to be, because you felt it through her actions with everything that she did. With every meal that she cooked, you tasted the love. I always say her secret ingredient is love. When she tends to her garden, you could tell there's so much love there, because she's tending to her garden, not just because she loves to do that, but because she's growing food to cook for her loved ones. When she is sewing something or making a little quilt or a blanket for me, it feels extra cozy because it's made with love. When I was a baby, she used to puree all my baby food, pick food from the fruits and vegetables from my garden and then puree it and then feed it to me when I was a baby. And then when I was a kid, she's cooking me fresh meals every time I saw her. And open door policy. I could knock on her door at any point in time and I knew she was always there. Like, that was just such a rock of a woman. And she's still alive. But she's just someone that I always aspire to be like. Like, I'm like, you are like the motherly figure that I want to be like. So growing up, I just always had that in my mind. And I still want those old school traditions of wanting a family and wanting kids and wanting to be a wife. I want my garden. I want my little farm. I want to have time to cook meals every single day. I want to create a warm home, an open door policy that anyone can come to my door at any single time if they needed me, and I'll open the door and be there for them. Everything I ever did in my life and everything I do is for those who I love. And if you know me, you're close to me, you know I love very hard. If you need me, no matter what time of the day, I'll pick up the phone, I'll answer. If you show up to my door, I will always open the door for you. That is just what I always dreamed of. My family, my community, my people, and just always being there. Just always having people in my house. And that's what I always wanted. Like, always dreamed about having an extra room in my house too. My apartment now, I got a sofa that turns into a bed. So if anyone wants to come here and sleep over or need a place to stay, they have the bed in my living room. And that's just like who I always was. Creating such a warm home environment and family. You can feel the warmth once you enter this house. That is what I always wanted and dreamt of having. I'm still blessed to have 3 of my grandparents alive. But growing up, I always wanted to create that family, and I wanted my grandparents to see that. And I wanted them to celebrate that with me. Now that I am queer and I love women, all of a sudden I don't want that. If anything, I feel like I want to run away. I want that for myself, but I don't have the feeling of wanting to share it with them anymore. I'm blessed that my grandmother on my mom's side is pretty open to me being gay. She knows. My grandparents on my dad's side, they don't know. And I don't think I will ever tell them. And that is something that breaks my heart. But something that I always think and I sit on, because I'm like, what if I do fall in love with a woman and I want to marry her? Like, what am I going to do? I feel like I can't tell my grandmother, which sucks because I love her so much. Coming out, I feel like I just want to run away from her. I'm on my period. Remember, guys, the reason that I'm sharing this story is because I know a lot of queer people share similar experiences. And, I have one of my best guy friends he was actually my friend Jacob. Like, he was on this first episode with me. And if you listen to the episode, he said that he was coming to the terms of grieving the loss of his mother, and not physically, but emotionally, because he felt like she would never accept him for who he is. So even before he came out to her, he was just grieving the loss of her. And that's kind of what I feel like with my grandmother. I have friends who are like, you don't know if she's going to react like that, Serena. Like, you don't know if she's never going to talk to you ever again. You don't know if she's going to shun you. And I'm like, it's not a risk I'm willing to take. And I feel like she will. Like, I feel like she just won't understand. And that's the thing with having foreign family members, or just very old school family members. Like what I said, my grandmother immigrated here from Italy in the late 60s. She only knows what she knows. She has a 2nd grade education. She wouldn't even understand. And if she was to see it, I think she would hate it. And I had a friend a little over a year ago. We were having a conversation about this. And she said, how would you feel if your grandmother passed away without you ever telling her who you truly were? And I said, I'm scared if I tell her who I truly am, that it will kill her. It's something that I sit and ponder on, like, how will I feel if she ever passes away? She never knows who I truly am. But it's also hard because, I have family members who tell me, like, you can't ever tell your grandmother this. These feelings are dormant because I'm single. But it's just something that's on my mind, like seeing my cousins getting married and having babies, and them showing her that And like seeing my grandmother and her being so excited. And then in my mind, how I always wanted that for myself, but also for her to show her that. Because my grandmother went through so much in her life. Like, truly one of the strongest women I know. One of the most resilient women that I know. Everything that she does is for family. So the least that I can do for her and that her grandchildren can do for her is to show her that everything that she's been through in her life was worth it. So for her to look down on her children, her grandchildren, and her great-grandchildren and be like, everything that I went through was worth it because look at how successful my legacy is. Look at my legacy. I just always wanted to show that to her. I always wanted to celebrate that with her. Growing up, I just always thought I was going to have this Italian husband and have Italian babies and live in Jersey or live in New York and, you know, do the Sunday dinners or do the getting together every holiday and doing the traditions of making the sauce every single year and the wine every single year and the meals. Even if it wasn't like an Italian husband, like a husband, a Catholic husband. That's another story for another day. Now it's like, yeah, that's just not going to happen. Every time I see my grandmother, she's like, no boyfriend. I'm like, no, not. Boys suck. I think that is, something that's weighing heavy on my mind because I'm like, what if I meet the love of my life? A woman who's the love of my life. Yeah, I want to get married to her and I want to have babies and my nonna is still alive. How am I going to go about doing that? And will it still be celebrated the same way? Like, will she be at my wedding? Do I even want to have a wedding? Will she want to meet my children? And I did have a girlfriend that she met. But when I introduced her, I was like, this is my friend. And I felt so bad I had to do that. When I was with this girlfriend, I told her, I was like, I'd regret if I was with you and she never met you or you never met her. So you just have to be introduced as my friend. And that was really special that my ex-girlfriend wanted to do that and did do that. Because I had another girlfriend who didn't want to do that because she didn't want to be hidden, which I also get. Another statistic, a 2023 study by the UK-based charity, Just Like Us, found that nearly half of LGBTQ plus young adults ages 18 to 25 were estranged from at least one family member. The Just Like Us study also revealed that around 1/3 of young adults were not confident their parent or guardian would accept them if they came out, and this fear of rejection often reflects the reality of family estrangement. Nearly half of LGBTQ young adults were estranged from at least one family member. That's a crazy number that I feel because I feel like my grandmother wouldn't want to speak to me. I actually know that. And I truly am scared that even if I did tell her, like she would have a heart attack. Like that is like actually a fear of mine too. Like I will like literally put her in a hospital bed and she wouldn't even understand. Also, another thing that I dealt with after coming out, the first family members I came out to was my mom and her mother, my grandmother, because I lived with them at the time. And I came out because I started dating my first girlfriend. Before that, I identified as bisexual. I was fluid. I was figuring myself out. And in my mind, I was being stubborn that I didn't want to come out because straight people don't come out. So why do I have to come out? And two, I felt like I didn't want to open the can of worms to my family because I didn't have a partner. So I waited until I had my first girlfriend to tell them. And I thought it wouldn't be as difficult because my mom's side of the family is more open and accepting. My grandmother's best friend is a lesbian. My grandmother would tell me a story about one of her guy friends was gay. My grandmother is 85 years old and she's one of the most open-minded people of her age that I know in terms of just accepting people for who they are and like being friends with whoever. My grandmother, if you're funny and you can have a conversation, my grandmother likes you. She doesn't care what you look like. And I love that about her. I thought it would be a little bit more open-minded. But when I came out, it wasn't that easy. My grandmother cried. My mom was very confused and angry. I didn't know this in the moment, but realizing it afterwards, they were grieving who they thought I was and the type of future that they thought I was going to have. because I was so expressive of always wanting to be a mom and a wife and wanting this type of future. So when I came out as gay, they thought that, how is that going to happen? I thought you wanted all of this. How are you going to have children? Now you can't have children. What? How are you going to be without a man? How are you going to be without a husband? Is this a phase? Are you retaliating against me? Something my mom thought, my grandmother. But how are you going to have children? Well, shouldn't you at least have your children first and then come out? So as time went on, they became accepting. Actually, earlier this year, my grandmother came up to me. She was like, I have a gift for you. And it was a bucket hat that had the rainbow flag on it. And underneath it says, love is love. So that was just her little token of that. My mom was also accepting as well. Like, I brought my girlfriends around my mom and it was fine. My ex-girlfriends. Is she like out and proud that I'm gay? Not really. I don't feel it. When I first came out, she was like, I'm not going to tell anyone. That's your business. Like, you don't have to tell people, which is not what you want to hear, because when you come out, it takes a lot. And that's why it's like, the saying is like out and proud. Coming out means that you're finally proud of like your identity and who you are. And you want to feel that from your loved ones as well. Like a feeling of feeling proud. So like I'm coming out, and then for you to like retaliate and say, you don't have to tell people though. It's like, what? I finally want to tell everyone. What do you mean? Last year, after I broke up with my second girlfriend, my mom had a conversation with me and she said, listen, you do you, but posting it all over social media, like, I just don't want to see it. I don't want to hear about it. Next time you introduce me to someone or a woman, I want you to be sure about it. I was enraged inside, and I'm still enraged when I think about that conversation, because anytime I dated men previously, so I dated men like for 23 years of my life. Anytime I dated men, I could go through men and it didn't even matter if I had a different story about a different guy that I was dating every single month. That didn't matter. But if it's that with a woman, that matters. So I can post with a guy on social media and it's fine, but I post with a woman on social media and it bothers you, unfollow me then. The last guy I ever dated, the typical Italian, came from a good family. He was a football player, Catholic, just the ultimate guy that I knew my family would love, would see me with. Successful, his family was successful. I briefly dated him for like 2 months or whatever. I saw that through because I knew this is the type of person that my family would love to see me with. I did it for my family, because ultimately, the whole time I was seeing this guy, I was so fucking bored. But I saw it through because I saw some type of safety in it. And I ignored all the other red flags of, well, there's no emotional connection here. There's no mental connection here. But there's safety. Now, I'm seeing this guy who was never serious. Briefly dated him around 2 months. People are asking about him. I dated 2 girlfriends. Title, serious. I love them both. No one asks about them. Anytime I would talk to my mom on the phone, they're not asking about my partner. My dad, too. My dad was accepting. I came out to him through the phone when I lived in Florida. And he's accepting, but you could tell he's also like, I feel like he doesn't know how to talk about it. But little things like that, I'm like, if I was with a man, you would ask how so-and-so was. You would, just be more involved. But when it's a woman, there's like almost a lack of coming to terms or believing it. A YouTuber couple, and I love them. Their names are Victoria and Lindsay. They're a married lesbian couple, and they posted a YouTube video about this. They said the amount of homophobia that they didn't realize their loved ones had until they got married, like they made those realizations when they were getting married, was crazy. And I feel that because it's like a lot of people don't think it's serious, like when you're dating. Like it's not clocking to you that I'm on business. Like a lot of people think it's like, I don't know, some type of phase or some type of like looking at us like we're just 2 girls doing life together until it's time to get married, and then it's clocking to people. And I guess that's like a fear of mine that I've been having as well. I think another big shared experience that a lot of queer people have is moving away from their hometown and to explore themselves and their identities somewhere else, especially in an urban area or a big city. So there's actually a term, it's called gay flight. This article that I really related to by Ryan Rockford, he wrote it 2020, and his articles is titled Born to Run, The Gay Migration Away from Home. So gay flight is an actual term used to describe the migration of members of the LGBTQ community from their rural roots to life in a big city. So he was actually from New Orleans. So he said, this is far from rural, but the desire to move to a larger city seemed to be encoded into my psyche. And I kind of relate back to that because my family's from the Bronx. I grew up in Jersey. Right before I moved to Fort Lauderdale, I lived down the Jersey Shore. So it wasn't like I was in some small town in Arkansas. It is a little bit more open-minded. You can get lost in the bubble that you grew up in. And my family grew up in what they know, which is the Italian-American lifestyle. Also, Jersey's such a small state that I need to get out of here in order to find myself. There's a lot of reasons why I moved out of Jersey, but I definitely feel like I needed it to find myself after coming out. My first lesbian relationship was, I was living in Jersey, but when that was going to shit, I was like, I need to get out of here. I needed that to find myself because once I really started dating women, I just dove into the community. I didn't have my queer friends. I didn't have any lesbian friends. I had gay friends, but I didn't have lesbian friends. I didn't have queer women friends. My queer women friends were my friends of my ex-girlfriends. And just like it being such a small community out in Jersey, I just felt like I needed to find myself. I felt like I needed more of a bigger reach. Going back to like what I said with my grandmother, feeling like I just want to run away from my grandmother because I'm not who she thinks I am. I'm not going to create the life that she wants for me. So it makes me want to run away from her. My mom, with the feeling, with the sayings and the little comments of be who you want, I love you, I just don't want to see it. That makes me not want to be around her. That makes me not want to date and live in Jersey and live my life in Jersey. It makes me want to run away and figure it out, go somewhere else and figure myself out, find my future wife, create my life. The lack of acceptance just within my family and the lack of like just understanding it, trying to understand it, thinking that it's real. Even little things like voting for certain people who are actively trying to take away my rights. It stings a little when people that you love are voting for people who are actively taking away your rights or not even speaking up about it. Because it's one thing to vote for someone because you feel like that person is going to help you economically or whatever, financially, or what, and that's the reason. It's not because you're a homophobe. It's because you're trying to make more money for your business or you're trying to buy real estate. Okay, that's your reason. Okay, so why aren't you talking or sticking up about gay rights? That's the least you can do. You voted for this man, so the least you can do is try and help fight against human rights being taken away. So you voting for this person and you not sticking up for a single fucking thing makes me feel like I want to not be around you. Point blank, period. So that's why a lot of queer people, they move into a bigger city like New York, like San Francisco, like San Diego, more welcoming type of community. I will say Florida is a very red state, and I have been fearing living in this state. San Diego is calling my name. But Fort Lauderdale is really gay. I don't know if you guys know, Fort Lauderdale is really fucking gay. So that's like a big reason that I came down here too, because I just knew that there was a huge queer community down here. It is nice like finding myself down here. But I know a lot of queer people, they identify with this gay flight type of term. In this article that Ryan Rockford wrote, I suspect that many who participate in the gay flight phenomenon do so for one reason I did: anonymity. There is freedom when no one knows who you are. There will be no childhood friends, parents, grandparents, or siblings to judge or compare you to others. It's incredibly liberating to be able to create oneself from scratch. No one will know of your past mistakes or achievements. No one will expect anything from you, and you can start your life on a clean slate. You can be gay, straight, bisexual, asexual, pansexual, transsexual, and as long as you're not hurting anyone, people don't care. They have their own lives to create. I learned to provide for myself. I had to find a place to live and a way to pay rent. There was no one else but me. I learned to be independent, assert myself, and embrace life's competitiveness in a big city. Living on my own awakened a desire for self-improvement. And this is definitely something that I related to. Something that I loved when I first moved to Florida was when I introduced myself and people got to know who I am. I identified as queer, as gay. And that is something that was so hard for me in Jersey once I started dating women, because like what I said, Jersey's such a small state. And with me starting to date women and me identifying as gay, a backstory of having to explain, then why did you date men for the past 23 years of your life? I had to like explain who I was. And coming down here was that. It was a clean slate. It was building myself from scratch and being who I truly am. Living in Jersey, I felt like too many people knew my past and too many people had their ideations and who they thought I was. And if you know me, you know I'm always changing. I'm always shifting, baby. If it's one thing that I always say is I hate being put in a box. I'm a different person every single year. I take pride in that. Who I am to the core is always the same, but I am constantly shifting. It just felt really good to have a clean slate somewhere that I'm living and meet a whole different realm of people who just don't know who I am, who don't already have me in a box of who they think I am and what they want from me and what they think my future is going to be like. So I know a lot of queer people do relate to that feeling as well. He also writes, the decision to leave your hometown for a life in a big city is an individual one, but many LGBTQ people choose to do so. If you're thinking that a move to a big city might be right for you, if you feel the need to reinvent yourself and be the person you were meant to be, I strongly encourage it. Don't sweat the details so much, you'll figure it out as you go. If something deep inside you is telling you that you need to break out of the box that you're in, or if you want more for yourself than your hometown can provide, do it. So I definitely relate to that advice. And I also give that advice to many young queer people as well. The decision that I made to move happened within a couple weeks. This lunar eclipse, man, I'm telling you, making me a little emotional, but these are just the things that have been sitting and weighing heavy on my mind. Happiness surrounding so many milestones of my loved ones and traditional milestones, you know, the heteronormative marriage and having babies and buying the house that I'm seeing so many of my loved ones doing. And I am so happy for them. Don't get me wrong. Like I am, but it just weighs heavy, feeling like I don't know if I'm going to be equally celebrated with a woman in my life. And what does that look like? And needing to create that from scratch because I don't know what that looks like. I don't have anyone to look up to see what that looks like in my life. And it is definitely a goal of mine to create a queer group of, women friends that I have, because I love my best friends. I love my family, but I don't have that in my life. And that could be a sense of loneliness as well that I know a lot of queer people relate to. It's hard to find your people who really relate to you and you can talk about these things with. So I just want to share that if you guys whoever is listening, have some type of shared experience or shared feeling of loneliness or grief, that I feel you and I'm here for you. And my DMs are always open to talk and connect. I'm here to meet people as well who are sharing similar experiences. The grieving of your old self once coming out is definitely a universal shared experience, I feel like. And I am still doing so. I'm still grieving what I thought I once wanted, but also creating a new vision for myself. Like what I said, I'm a Cancer, Sun, Mars, Capricorn, Moon. Like I value the traditions. I value being a mother and creating a home and being a wife one day. I want these things that I want to create a legacy. It just looks very different when you're building that with a woman. I really want the people who are still in my life and that I love to embrace it like how they would if I was doing that with a man. I will say, like, my best friends are very supportive of me. They've always been supportive of me, and I know that they'll always ride the journey with me no matter what it looks like. So I'm not worried about them, It's more so, what is it gonna look like for me? Just really combining like my traditional aspirations and combining that with a very unconventional lifestyle that I'm living now and my future aspirations and combining that together and creating a new life goal and life vision for myself. I guess that's like what I'm in the middle of, like grieving like an old sense of self, still holding on to so much and accepting a new vision and the fear of what does that look like, but also a huge excitement of curiosity of what that looks like. Yeah, I don't know if I'm making sense in what I'm saying right now, but I hope that, and I know that people will relate to this. So that's why I'm sharing this. So yeah, I mean, these are a couple thoughts that are just weighing heavy on my mind during this eclipse. And let me know if any of you guys are experiencing similar thoughts, have experienced similar thoughts. I hope you guys are doing well during this eclipse season. I wish you guys all the blessings and love and abundance and the fated changes that are flowing to you during this eclipse season. And like what I said, my DMs are open for those who are feeling similar in that grieving stage and that feeling lonely. I am a person and know that we're never alone. That's why the LGBTQ community is such a community and a family within itself. And we ride hard for each other because we have to. We are our chosen family when a lot of our blood family don't understand or don't accept. We are each other's family. So I am your family for whoever is feeling lonely and need people. So yeah, thank you guys so much for listening, and I will see you in the next episode.